Hey everybody, this is Luxeley, and as anybody who knows me, watch any of my videos, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, absolutely love the show, think it's amazing because anything can happen to anyone at any given time. So I had this idea, and also a lot of time on my hands, and I figured, let me make a video that encapsulates and describes kind of what kind of class best describes a particular character in Game of Thrones, or what kind of class you could actually see them playing in World of Warcraft. I'm with Thamriyell. Hey, say everybody. Say everybody hi. I'm talking like
everybody hi.
Say everybody hi. Yeah.
Hi guys, how's it going? My name is Thamriyell.
Who's your favorite character on the show?
Jon Snow, because he knows absolutely nothing.
He's a
Yeah. I mean, aside from everybody just keeps saying that he knows nothing, which I think is probably one of the greatest memes ever, I think he's actually a pretty solid character.
I think so too. I'm a little bit more of a sinister, twisted, conniving kind of person, and I really like Varys. That guy is just so smart, so twisted. Everybody's playing checkers. He's playing chess. I really like Varys. But I wanted to do this video because, like I said, I got a lot of time on my hands, and I was just curious, what class in WoW best describes particular characters in Game of Thrones, or what class you could see them playing. Now I'm just going to bring out the first guy, who's Stannis Baratheon. Now Stannis is a very stoic, rigid, unemotional kind of guy. Okay, he's not someone you're gonna like to hang out with and have a drink or two, right? you know, he's just not a fun guy at parties. I mean, that's for sure. And, he doesn't really, he got bad marks in school when in the doesn't play well with others category. There's a very cruel and malevolent streak about him, but he kind of tends to be ruthless out of necessity in order to empower himself, to make himself be feared. He just knows that that's a maneuver he needs to make. You can tell sort of he doesn't like doing it, but he doesn't do it for pure pleasure like someone twisted like Ramsay or Joffrey, who's just 100% pure evil. So there's a purpose to Stannis's cruelty and malevolence. I mean, there's a good side that you kind of need a compass and a treasure map to kind of find most of the time with him. I mean, even when he tells the story about his daughter's affliction and illness and how he did everything he could to save her, he shows some love and devotion, and Shireen runs up to him and hugs him, and he's just standing there. He doesn't put his arms around her. He's like, is this a hug? He doesn't even know what's going on. You almost feel like, Stannis, phone a friend, which you can't do because he doesn't really have any friends. He's kind of a difficult read. He's a tough guy to figure out. He has devoted followers like Davos, who for some reason, Stannis chopped off his fingers and Davos loves him because he did that, which makes no sense to me. He has Melisandre, who's like the darkest, most twisted chick you could ever find. I'd love to get a glimpse into her childhood. But I'm thinking, to really encapsulate Stannis, I think he's tough. I think he's feared. I think he's admired. He's respected. And he's got that slight dark sinister side to him. He's a veteran of battle. He's a great battle commander. I got to go with Death Knight. What do you think?
I'm kind of divided between a Death Knight and a warrior. Because, Death Knights, Death Knights are kind of messed up if you think about it. But at the same time, warriors are usually well, there are two kinds of warriors. They're the honorable warriors and dishonorable warriors. I feel like the fact that he's obviously has a goal in himself and everything, and I kind of have to agree with you there. He's more of a Death Knight. He's more like a solo case. He doesn't really have allies. He just has people that follow him, and whoever doesn't follow him, he wants to crush him.
Burn him.
So he'd be more of a Death Knight then, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I did kind of lean towards warrior too. You can make a decent case for warrior, but just because of that fearsome aspect to him, I kind of lean towards Death Knight with Stannis. And you guys out there watching the video, I mean, if you think we're wrong, leave it in the comments in a very respectful and intelligent way. Tell us why. The next one I want to talk about kind of falls under House Lannister, which is Lancel Lannister. If he wasn't a squire and pretty decent with a sword, I mean, you could almost picture him in as like the guitar player in a boy band in Game of Thrones, in a way, the old Lancel Lannister. It's almost like he's a wannabe Backstreet Boy or something silly like that. He did fight bravely and honorably in the Battle of Blackwater. He got wounded there, mortally wounded. He recovered from his wounds. But when he did recover, he kind of became possessed and started seeking redemption for something we don't know exactly what it is he did. Something to do with Baratheon's death, Robert Baratheon, the former king. We're not 100% sure. I don't know. He's kind of in this, involved with this Game of Thrones Church of Scientology nowadays. He's gone under a complete transformation of his character. I mean, looks completely different. He's got a tattoo on his forehead. Lancel kind of reminds me of the misfit outlaw in any given Western. The guy that, when the other outlaws got drunk, they made him dance by shooting bullets in the dirt and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you always see Lancel very unraveled, especially in the earlier seasons in Game of Thrones. And that's kind of the image I have of him, but he is a warrior in a way. But I'm going to focus on the new guy that he is, this new part of the occult who's possessed. I'm thinking Shadow Priest.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was about to say. Shadow Priest.
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of, that's leaning towards the newer transformation of Lancel. The older one, it's a really tough call. Probably a warrior, but not a good warrior, But definitely Shadow Priest now. Yeah, so we definitely immediately concur on that. The next one is good old Sansa Stark, who's becoming a very interesting character now. I mean, at the beginning of the show, Sansa is your typical prissy, highborn teenage girl, who's got a crush on, of all people, Prince Joffrey, And, when you're starry-eyed about a kid like Joffrey, you're really sweeping a lot of things under the table and, really just ignoring a lot of the bad stuff. I mean, she was pretty goddamn naive and delusional. And Sansa, goes through more mental anguish and emotional anguish than probably any other character in the show. And strangely enough, she hasn't really compromised herself. She stood strong, and she's kind of adopted to the situation, and she's proven herself to be a survivor, which means she could take a lot. She's a lot stronger than people realize. She's a lot stronger than we actually see. And throughout Sansa's childhood and even young adolescence, I mean, she always dreamed of leaving Winterfell in the north, for a warmer, prettier place, and marrying a great prince or a king. And now she's exploring and admiring the roots of her family and going back to the core of that, almost like a complete pilgrimage to what she walked away from and was so anxious to leave. Now she seems to be embracing it. But because of her endurance, because of her tolerance, I got to go with the class that can take a licking and keep on ticking, and that's a Holy Paladin.
I was actually about to say Holy Priest.
Could be too, yeah.
Yeah.
A Holy Priest actually is a good fit too. So either a priest or a paladin would be a very good fit for Sansa.
She's not really that active in the things that she does. She doesn't physically do anything that changes around her. She's kind of like a support, like a standby that kind of just tries to bear with whatever's going on around her. And that whether she be a priest or paladin, she's just trying to out-heal it.
Exactly. And that kind of endurance without that mystical side that a druid or a monk or a shaman might have. More holy based, more school of thought kind of based rather than far ancient mystical kind of thing. So yeah, I could see a holy priest or a holy paladin most definitely. And let me know you guys' thoughts. Sansa Stark, what do you see her as? What class would she play in WoW? What class in WoW best describes her? Next up, I'm going to bring the old school guy, Barristan Selmy. He's a very seasoned and talented, fearless swordsman. I mean, he's got an unprecedented, remarkable sense of duty, honor, and loyalty, like no one else in Westeros, save maybe Ned Stark, and we all know what that got him. Now, Barristan is a true knight. He takes his oaths very seriously, and he'd rather die a horrible death than run away from a fight or break a vow. That's just who he is to the bone. That is the core of him. And his problem is the same problem Ned Stark kind of has, which is he's loyal to a fault. I mean, Barristan served the Mad King when the Mad King indulged in pyromania tendencies and played with matches and lit everybody on fire, and he still served this lunatic because he made a vow. That's what is most important to him, and he did that. And then he found himself as kind of like Robert Baratheon's designated driver for many years, and that, I think, was another bad experience for him. So Barristan always wanted to serve someone truly worthy, not, somebody who wants to burn the world or not somebody who wants to have a beer with the world. What's really interesting here is that Barristan does come full circle, and he serves Daenerys Targaryen, and he's kind of on the cusp of his golden years now, and he finally found that one worthy person for him to serve and be a knight and be true to. I'm thinking prop paladin for Barristan Selmy. I mean, I could make a case for a ret paladin, but I'm thinking prop paladin, and I know prop paladin is one of your favorite classes, so
Oh yeah.
take it away, Tham.
This character, what I like about him is his loyalty and what he believes in. He's not much. If he were to be a red powder, he'd be somebody who'd be, out there actually doing things. But he's there, standing by, what's her name, Daenerys' side, and he's there protecting her.
Yes.
He's there to guide her. He's literally like the wise guy in the room that you like take lessons from and take, I guess, opinions from. He's not assertive enough, or he's not, I guess, aggressive enough to be considered a red powder. He's more passive and protective, and I guess calculative to be more of a prop paladin. Since like tanks usually have to be more calculative about this kind of stuff, and he's definitely a paladin because he truly believes in his own beliefs and follows what he believes strongly.
I agree. I think we're on the same page, and I think it'd be very hard to make a case that he's a rogue or a mage or anything. I think it's some form of paladin, and I think Prot really nails the hammer on the head or something like that. It's, the analogy. And the next one is one of my favorite characters, which is on the show, which is Oberyn Martell. I mean, he's bold, he's daring, he's extraordinarily smooth. And surprisingly, there's a very strong poetic and romantic side to Oberyn. So he's the kind of guy who's like every woman's dream, because in a way, that's his, if he's in the mood for women, at that particular time. But he, in the sense that he has that Andy Garcia thing to him, where, if the wrong guy says the wrong thing to his girl, he's going to beat her up. He's going to beat the guy up. And the girl's going to somewhat, maybe not show that she likes it, but deep down inside she does, because he's got that protector feeling to it. Women love guys like that, but they also love guys that could show their sensitive side. And Oberyn's the kind of guy that's would cry on a woman's shoulder. So he beats somebody up for saying the wrong thing to her and cry on her shoulder. He's the best of everything in that respect. He's a unique character, kind of. That's Andy Garcia reminds me of that. When you think of Oberyn, you think of raw, unbridled passion that can be manifested and unleashed at any given time in the form of extreme love or extreme hate. He's also known as the Red Viper. He's a very talented, quick, and slick fighter. He likes to move around a lot. He likes to be free. He likes to use his quickness and his agility to its greatest extent. He's a very likable, respectful, and graceful man. And he's relentlessly devoted to his family. He actually recognizes and takes care of all his bastard kids, which was not necessarily something that a lot of High Lords do in Westeros. So he kind of goes against the grain on that in a very good way. But to his own demise, he's got an equal thirst and wanderlust for revenge. He's like that character in Prince of Bride, who's like, I'm so-and-so and so, and you killed my father, and I'm going to get revenge. It's almost a complete page out of the book of Princess Bride. Because of his, I guess, cerebralness and poeticness and mobility, I'm going with Monk.
Actually, I would have to agree with you. I was thinking either Combat Rogue or Monk, but now that here's what I was thinking. I was thinking either combat rogue, simply because he seems like a kind of guy, he's not the kind of guy to stay in stealth, he's the kind of guy to just like go in there, but since monks can't use two-handed weapons like staves or spears or whatever, or pole arms, I'd have to give it to Monk. Simply because those guys can have pole arms, and he has a pole arm.
Yeah,
And he's really damn good with it.
yeah, and he seems a bit more poetic and graceful in his moves than say a combat rogue would be, which is
Hmm.
also I think leans towards monk. Let me know your thoughts. Combat rogue or windwalker monk for Oberyn Martell. The next one kind of lends into the old realm of you know nothing, Jon Snow, the woman who coined the phrase, Ygritte. Now, she's very passionate. She's feisty. She's kind of a rebel in search of a worthy cause kind of girl, you know. She has a lot of passion, but she's not really sure where she wants to offer it exactly. I mean, she does believe in the way of the free folks. That's who she is. That's in her blood, and she does believe it. But she also doesn't ignore the reality that she knows that she's just a pawn in Mance Rayder's army. And Mance Rayder will send her to attack a machine gun if he has to. And she knows that. And that's what makes her kind of interesting because she has this devotion to her people, but by the same token, she also wants to be a little bit independent because she realizes that she's really just a pawn in the great scheme of things. Now, deep inside her heart, and I think this is a very subtle thing and had to give this a lot of thought to come up with this, but I think she desperately wants Jon Snow to sweep her away, which he does do. However, she really wants Jon Snow to take her away from it all. Take her away from the responsibilities, take her away from serving Mance, and live in exile, a very normal life, provide for themselves, hide away, have a family and kids, and do this somewhere safe and far away, which Jon Snow obviously never does, never even crosses his mind. And I think that's where the whole concept of, like, you know nothing, Jon Snow, because she's being a typical woman. She has this one thing that she really, really wants and desires, and yet she thinks that we're supposed to read her mind and figure out what it is. Hence, you know nothing, Jon Snow. So she's her weapon of choice is a bow, and I'm thinking marksman, lone wolf hunter, just simply
Yep.
because of that.
Hmm. She's not really the kind of person to kind of like get in people's faces. She's more of a, I don't know,
Tact,
she kind of just she follows whoever is the leader, which is, I mean, why she joins, probably why she joins the Free Folk and becomes a pawn. But like I said, she wants Jon Snow to kind of lead away from that life. She's not a kind of character to take a search and make that leap for herself. She wants somebody else to like guide her there.
exactly. Yeah, I think that is very accurate. She swept off her feet, which is half of what she wants, but the other half is to be taken away. That never really happens. Leave it in the comments your thoughts. Did we hit the mark, marksman hunter, lone wolf style, or is she something else? Make a case. Make it sound smart, respectful, and intelligent. And the last one, at least for this episode, was probably the toughest one. And then all of a sudden I had this like Shakabuda and the clouds passed and daylight came and I was like, that's it. And that's Petyr Baelish, aka Littlefinger, one of the more twisted and conniving people in Westeros. I mean, he's very smart, like I said, with Varys. It's the same analogy. Everybody's playing checkers and Littlefinger's playing chess. He's just like Varys in the sense he's, 5 or 6 moves ahead of everybody else. He's kind of like the grand wizard behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz, but we never really pull the curtain. Like any frail clothy when possessed, by, brutality, he's going to quake at the knees. I mean, that even happened when he had that run-in with Cersei. I'm not sure if it was season 1 or season 2. And she kind of bluffs him and says, orders her guard to seize Petyr Baelish and kill him or whatever. And then she stops him. And just as a demonstration of what true power is. And when those guards grabbed him and he thought he was dead, he just quaked like a 13-year-old girl. He just was like
Hmm.
a mess. So when confronted with pure brutality and brute force, he will quake at the knees. Otherwise, behind the scenes as the wizard, he's got a lot of power and a lot of strength. He's very shrewd. He's tactical. He is really a master of deceit. He's at the same brainiac level of a Tyrion or a Varys. I mean, he's an entrepreneur. He's a very enterprising is the word that I was having difficulty saying. He's a very enterprising, sneaky, cunning guy. And he's someone who never fails to recognize an opportunity and take advantage of that opportunity. He finds it. He seizes it. He probably sees it before anybody else in the room does, and he's already taking advantage of the opportunity before anyone else in the room even still sees the opportunity. He's that quick. Much like the Lannisters, he commands respect and power through money and not necessarily honorable deeds, through wealth, not honorable deeds. He is a true Machiavellian. You know, the ends justifies the means, describes him perfectly. He knows no boundaries, no true loyalty, even though he pretends to be loyal to people and does it very well. He will do whatever is necessary to advance his wealth and power. That's what's most important to him. I had a hard time figuring out who this guy is and wow, what class he is. But then I kind of figured, you know, he's a class where he has everyone is a minion to him. And he just has other people fight his battles, and he just kind of sits back. And when he's faced with real hard brute force pressure, he quakes. And I'm thinking Warlock.
Really now, because I was actually thinking more of an assassination rogue.
Okay.
Hear me out. He's not a sub-rogue to the point where he would, you know, kind of like sneak in the shadows and actually observe from afar. He's not the kind of person that would take time to really observe. He's a guy, he's an opportunist. He has his daggers ready. He has every possible move out there. He's ready to just ambush the enemy and mutilate and do all the other rotations that assassination rogue has. He's ready to jump on the target as soon as it's there. He doesn't stand out like, let's say, like a warrior would, or a death knight, or even a hunter. He's there in the shadows, kind of hanging on to whoever he can in order to stay powerful. But when he finds that opportunity, he just pulls out a full-out burst, just shadow steps right behind the target, and just takes opportunity every single time. Especially when he helped with the capture and execution of... God, what's his name? The dad of Starks.
Oh, Eddard Stark.
Yeah. He just immediately, that's immediately what I thought. Like, he kind of looks like a sneaky little rogue.
That I could see that. I did entertain the idea of a rogue. I kind of went with Warlock because I just kind of feel like other people fight his battles and he's kind of in his high tower commanding minions. But that's one side of him. He is on an opportunity and a situation as quick as any rogue might be. And he comes out of nowhere all the time because he's always 5 or 6 steps ahead of people. So I think you can make a strong case for both. People, I think that's going to stop it for today's episode, but there's still a lot of people to cover. So if you'd like to see more, be sure to be subscribed to myself. Check out Tham's channel. He does many different games, including World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy, which a lot of people, you should check it out. It's a beautiful visual spectacle if you're into MMOs. And
cat girls.
and yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely some, you know, where some women that, you know, God, I'm going to go look right now. But yeah, leave it in the comments if you want me to figure out what characters you want to see covered next, because there's quite a few more that we can look into and hook up. This is Luxeley saying, and Thamriyell saying, Thamriyell, say your thing.
Thanks so much for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe to Luxley if you haven't. My name is Thamriyell. Thank you so much, Luxley, for having me over. My voice is dying. Like, subscribe, and as always, have a great day.
Yes, certainly do. Take care, people.